1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
You are now live.
3, 4, 5.
You are live, Chair Green.
Thank you. It's 4 p.m. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Good afternoon. I'm Chair Darren Green, and I would like to welcome you to the March 11th, 2021 Asheville Area Riverfront Redevelopment Commission meeting. I'd also like to welcome new Commissioner Ben Williamson to the meeting. Ben, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. Thank you, Darren, and hello, everybody. My name is Ben Williamson, as Darren mentioned. Really just grateful and honored for the opportunity to join the work that you're doing, and thank you for the amazing work that you've done and continue to do. I'm a career educator, been in Asheville about 20 years. In my current role, I am the interim executive director at Green Opportunities here in the Southside, and previously been a small business owner in River Arts for about 5.5 years. And yeah, just excited to contribute in any way that we can to everything that the group is doing. Thanks again for the opportunity.
Welcome, Ben.
Thanks, Ben. I'd like to remind everybody and our viewers, the purpose of the AARRC is to recommend to the city and county an overall policy for the continued development and sustainability of the regional riverfront. The commission provides recommendations to the city and the county for effective management of the public resources for the districts and actively pursues and assists private sector investments in the districts. The commission is made up of 14 members representing the City of Asheville, the Council of Independent Business Owners, Riverlink, Asheville City Council, Riverlink, Asheville City Council, Buncombe County Commission, and the Town of Woodfin. Our committees consist of networking and river economy. All commission members and staff are participating virtually. We appreciate your patience as we work through committee meetings a bit differently. Pursuant to North Carolina General Statute 166A-19.24F, this will be a remote meeting which the public can access by any of the following means. We are streaming live on our virtual engagement hub, which is accessible through the virtual engagement hub link on the front page of the city website and also linked on the committee page. We also have an option for the public to listen live by phone by calling 855-925-2801. The meeting number is 602 for callers to call in and listen. Send comments by email to Riverfront Commission, March 11 at publicinput.com. For those of you out there with us today, welcome. I'll now go through and introduce the commission members who are participating virtually. Please make sure to mute your microphone if you are not speaking. When you have a question or would like to speak, unmute your microphone. Please remember to mute your phone after you are done speaking. Commission members, as I call your name, please say a quick hello. Vice Chairman David Brown.
Home button there. I'm here, glad to be here, and Ben, want to welcome you to the commission.
Buncombe County Commissioner Parker Sloan.
Hi, everybody.
Christy Quinn. Buck Egg.
Here.
Joe Ransmeyer. Councilwoman Sage Turner.
Hello, everyone.
Tim Schaller.
Hello.
Jane Matthews.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Jeremy Goldstein.
Hi there.
Wendy Whitson. Samantha Cole.
Hello.
and Debbie Giesentanner. Debbie, did I miss you? Oh. I see
I'm
you,
here.
Debbie. We'll move
I
on.
keep hitting the wrong buttons.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you. All right, we're going to move on to some administrative items. Steph, I'll ask, was there any public comment received?
We have had no public comment received for this meeting.
Thank you. Did everyone have a chance to review the minutes from our January meeting? Are there any changes or additions? Would someone like to make a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second that motion.
And Jane, you'd like to second?
Yes.
Thank you. Now I'm going to go through roll call again and get a yay or nay vote to approve the minutes. Vice Chairman David Brown,
Yay.
Commissioner Parker Sloan,
Aye.
Christy Quinn wasn't able to join, Buck Bragg,
Yes.
Councilwoman Turner,
Aye.
Tim Schaller,
Aye.
Jane Matthews,
Aye.
Jeremy Goldstein,
Aye.
Samantha Cole,
Aye.
Debbie Giesentanner.
Aye.
All right, the minutes are approved. Now we've added another point here, and I'm going to open it up for any commissioner comments. If there's any commissioners that would like to make any comments, please unmute or raise your hand, and I can certainly call on you. Commissioner Schaller.
Yeah, I think the discussion we're heading to from hearing before the meeting is not feeling like the recommendations that some of the boards make to the city are heard. That then when the staff delivers information to council, I'm not sure for myself if the thoughts and ideas of the commissions go along with that. I'm not sure if maybe there's the minutes are sent along, but I do feel like there's some salient points that don't get passed along. And I have heard small rumblings. I'm out in public in a bar and I hear from people. So I did hear from a couple of people who are on task force or committees that feel like their attendance is there just to say that they had community input. That doesn't feel like a good thing to hear from the community, but I have a feeling it's out there. So that's my comment.
Would Councilman Turner, would you like to speak to that? How is information provided to City Council?
I'm not clear if you're asking me or staff.
I'll ask you first.
Okay.
Tim had a comment. He wasn't sure how you're receiving information. Maybe you can provide how you're receiving it, and staff, if you want to add to that, that would be helpful.
Do you, Tim, are you seeing this in regards to a project review or a process, or perhaps the moratorium design board changes, or can you give me a little more context? Because they may come to us.
I think the design review was a specific. I think from RADBA, some of the comments about hotels, we had a survey, and I don't know if that was all transmitted. I'm on the open space task force, and I'm not sure. I just don't know whether the input we give is actually being taken. So it's and I know also probably it's bubbling up a little bit because of the idea of the design review and how that was put out by council, and that being told, okay, you're doing this for the community, but you better do a little more. That's what it sounds like. So there's a bit of
Okay. I'll try and answer as your new council liaison, but really having only had one meeting. So I'm not sure if these are legacy issues. The hotel moratorium was sent to us with an elaborate set of documents. Every committee, commission, group, neighborhood survey was attached. I thought staff did a wonderful job because it was an enormous process. So I would say yes, that input is sent to council. I would say that the entire process has a lot of input from a lot of different components and pieces and members of the community. So I could see why some folks would always feel that they are not heard if their issues are not carried forward in the ordinance. But I think the difference between being heard and it being enacted is different, right? Because it's still up for review and consideration of the entire council. What I can tell you as a liaison, as your new liaison, is that I have been a chair and on a lot of city boards for a long time. So I have been in your seat, and I have, in my own personal experience, been frustrated when a liaison does not attend meetings or when a liaison does not convey the message that comes from those commissions. And that's not how I operate. I will be attending all the meetings, and I will convey what I think the group wants to relay to council without any kind of personal filter. I think the staff reports that come from projects can be very detailed and helpful. I know that I review them. We haven't reviewed one that's come from the Riverfront board for me to really extrapolate how that's gone so far. But I think general recommendations outside those two formal processes, like a review of an ordinance or a review of a project, are a different entity in itself. Like we may brainstorm that we really, really want updated guidelines. Well, that's not a part of any of those processes. So I would advocate for the group if that was, say, their number one priority again this year, every year. So I think, in that regard, I would probably email all of council the recommendation of this committee and the documents and why I would support it as well. Does that help answer any of your questions at all, or can I delve into anything else that would help?
I think it may be more I'd like to hear from staff how they feel about it. That's really what I'd do.
Okay. And please, if anybody wants to talk to me offline about this, feel free to reach out.
So this is Steph, and I'll say that there's both formal and informal mechanisms for us to communicate with council. And while I was sitting here going over in my head, oh, we do this, we do that, what I really want my brain to do is listen to you all. I really want to hear from you where these misses are happening, because instead of giving you the litany of how it happens, I think what I'm hearing from you clearly is it's not working as well as it should be. You don't feel appreciated. And it's not transparent enough. I mean, are those three things can people agree that, is that what you're saying to some extent? At least Tim?
If I'm the only one bitching here, then that's okay. We can just move on. No, I'm serious.
Maybe you're the only one that's brave enough. I'll give you that, Tim Schaller.
Right. Okay. I just, so I am, I'm feeling.
I don't think you're the only person. And our community at large would appreciate us continuing to improve the way that we provide information to people and the way that we take community input, especially from our advisory boards. We have 40 of them, and make sure that they get heard. So, what I would say to you is, to repeat myself a little bit, would love to be able to have another conversation about this and really identify some case studies of where the misses are happening so that we can identify some solutions, just some tweaks. And our orientation earlier today with Ben and Sage, Darren and I, we did have a conversation about some of these things. So my brain is turning already, and I think it's important. I know that I can't identify all the things and solve all of the things today, if that also makes sense.
Of note too is that the hotel will be reviewed, the moratorium will be reviewed in 6 months. So if there are things that, were in those documents that we missed or you feel really important, let's circle back.
I think it's more, I think it may be, for me, it may be just another COVID thing. So, to be honest, it's easy for me to bump into someone, just as you said, that there's informal conversation with council from staff. There's also informal conversation, with community. So, and that's missing, right?
Let's call Shannon first, and then Jody, if that's okay.
Yep.
Thanks.
I'm just going to make a brief statement. So one thing, Tim, I don't know if this helps at all, but one thing that I've observed, and not just with your commissions, but a lot of boards and commissions or other stakeholder groups that offer feedback, is that, that information gets delivered and received. And as Councilwoman Turner has indicated, council gets a lot of information. They get a lot of this feedback from all of these different groups, and they have to weigh everything in balance. And I think what I've just started to kind of realize is really missing is communicating back to those different stakeholder groups why a decision was made and what was the reasoning behind it. So maybe that's something we can also look at, as we move forward in all of our respective work.
Thank you, Shannon. I think that would be helpful.
I really like
Debbie,
that.
you had a comment, question?
I guess this would be for Stephanie. I just remember one of the comments that was made. I don't know if it was from our group or maybe somebody from the downtown group, but they mentioned the amount of time, the extra time that was going to be needed for this new group that was made out of both. And I was just wondering, was that even discussed as relevant by the council, or did they feel like the need for it was just so important that it outweighed our concerns for the amount of time that volunteers would give? I'm just kind of, that feedback you were just talking about, I'm just kind of curious how they came up with the decision on that.
We provide the pros and cons of different policy decisions. So I can't represent, because I wasn't in the conversations with council, exactly how much it was discussed and how much emphasis was put on that one item. I can say that it was discussed at length on a staff level, and including what we always do, and what Sage alluded to as far as circling back. Making sure that if things start to go awry, we have to adjust, tweak, and change.
Okay, thank you.
I'm going to pass it to Jane, and then I saw Stacy, you have your hand up.
Yeah, I just want to comment, the thing that was disconcerting for me was to have the new design review proposals come from staff that didn't get modified with any of our suggestions. I mean, it was like we got ignored totally. And maybe it goes back to what you were saying, Shannon, you have to tell us why, and that maybe helps explain why staff is pushing so hard for a direction that was so opposite from what we had given back to staff. But it left us in a lurch. I mean, it really just took apart the whole commission's purpose of having a design review committee, and was putting it dispersing it among downtown and like was said by Debbie, the amount of work is tremendous that we're being asked now to do, and that's not what we signed up for. But the city is asking us to take on this new role, and we had already successfully done hotel reviews within our district, so it wasn't like we were inexperienced with dealing with our own district and its requirements. So that no consideration was given to that, or nothing expressed that I heard.
Todd, would you like to weigh in? I saw your hands up. And then Sage.
Yeah, hi, thanks everyone. Todd Oplaceni, Planning and Urban Design Director. Really appreciate this discussion and some future conversations that we could have with this commission about trying to improve our processes for how we communicate, as kind of a liaison or a mediator between this commission and city council. I think, just pertaining specifically to the design review recommendations of the commission, certainly, at city council meetings and city council check-ins, we did have an opportunity to share the specific recommendations, of this commission. And obviously council members had to weigh the pros and cons of recommendations by the Riverfront Commission with other commissions and other stakeholders in the community. I can say definitely that we did try to look at the intent of some of the recommendations by the Riverfront Commission for the design review process, and we were able to incorporate some of your ideas. So I do respectfully disagree with what some of Jane said, that we didn't incorporate any changes into this process. Number one, staff will be presenting to the Riverfront and Downtown commissions prior to the Joint Design Review Committee in order to, prior to their meetings, in order to solicit y'all's input and provide that input in some kind of written staff report format for consideration by the Design Review Committee. And number two, this commission will have 4 members that will be designated from this commission and from the Downtown Commission to the new Joint Design Review body. We felt as staff, we really advocated for involvement from both the Downtown Riverfront Commissions, that realizing that you have expertise historically in design review and your knowledge of the Riverfront area. And we agree, we felt that was very important. So the final outcome may not have been the exact recommendation that this commission had, but we did try to meet the intent of some of your recommendations, such as making sure that this body and this commission is still involved in the design review process.
Sage, you have your hand up.
I do. I just wanted to chime in a little bit to say some of what Todd said, that process-wise, the 2 boards, Downtown and Riverfront, will actually review projects before the design board. I mean, I hope that the way that I advocated for y'all has not created a greater problem. I heard from both the Downtown Commission and Riverfront that you were not ready to let go of the design review process, and you had a lot of good reasons for it, and I actually agreed. But what I was able to encourage and get other folks to support was that at least those members would be on these commissions. And honestly, I'm not certain that that will work out very well, because I feel like this commission needs a diverse representation, and forcing 4 of the 5 seats to be professional designers may be problematic. So there's that concern, but that was, I think, in an effort to do what we're trying to do here, which is keep you very involved. And I hope that that is a helpful thing. And if we need to discuss that it's not working or not a good solution, let me know. But that was the best way I could fight for both to be a remain part of it. So.
Thank you. If there's no other comments or questions, we'll move on to Shannon's presentation of the Design Review Committee procedures.
Sure.
Okay.
Well, let
Shannon.
me go ahead and start my screen. So one thing I want to just remind everybody, when I share my screen as I'm going through these slides, I can't see your faces. So if you really want to, if you have a burning question, or if you could just sort of audibly speak up and stop me or interrupt me, because otherwise I'll just keep rambling on. So let me know when you see my screen.
We see it.
Okay, great. Oh, sorry. There we go. Start at the beginning. Well, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for giving me some time on your agenda this afternoon. I think this is a really valuable conversation, and I look forward to exploring issues related to design review further with you and others. I know a lot of you. I see a lot of familiar faces on the commission. For those of you I have not met yet, my name is Shannon Tuck. I am one of the principal planners here in the Planning and Urban Design Department. And in my role, I have both collaborated with some of our other staff here, some of my colleagues, on the new hotel initiative that's been recently adopted. And I also manage the development review group, who's responsible for reviewing some of our higher level applications and special applications related to development. So my group will be responsible for managing this new process and for liaisoning with the new design review committee. So I volunteered to give this brief presentation. It's not very long. It's just maybe 5-7 minutes, a handful of slides. I had expected that most of our time today could be spent just in an open discussion and just answering basic questions that you may have. So I'll go ahead and get started. So I'd like to begin by just first reviewing some of the design review related goals. They come both from the Living Asheville Comprehensive Plan, as well as probably likely other city adopted plans and strategic goals. But there was also an Urban Land Institute report that was commissioned by the City Council a little over 2 years ago. And both the comprehensive plan and the ULI report both very directly speak to design review. And very plainly, the main design review goals include improving design in the built environment. It's kind of very straightforward. Prioritizing updates to our current design guidelines. I think we all very much support that goal. And to strengthen, formalize, and streamline the design review process. So as we embarked on the hotel initiative, and we knew that one of the directives that we were asked to very specifically explore was, developing a design review process for hotels, it kind of opened up the door for us to see that there was an opportunity to potentially move closer to some of these other design review related goals that had been handed down to us. That hotel amendment, of course, I think all of you or most of you know, was adopted February 23rd last month, and it does add development requirements and design review guidelines for hotels, and it updates the design review process. So that's really what I'm focusing on this afternoon. So centered around that new design review process is this new design review committee. And what it effectively does is it merges the two design review subcommittees, one from the Downtown Commission and one from the Riverfront Commission, into this new independent standing committee. There will be 9 members total, the majority of which shall have demonstrated special interest, experience, or education in any one of a number of different design-related fields. Now, this statement is very purposeful. In order to ensure equitable representation on this committee, and stay true to the vision of true design review, we do want there to be design expertise on the committee, but we want to make sure that there's room that for folks who are really motivated or very interested and who can represent other important voices, that there's an opportunity for them to serve on the commission as well. It also gives us a little more, it gives us a little more flexibility in making sure these seats get filled additionally. So of the 9 members, City Council will appoint 8 of them, 4 coming from the Downtown Commission, 4 from the Riverfront Commission. We've discussed some of this already in the earlier conversation. And those existing commissions will retain involvement in the design review process through those committee relationships. You've got a good, solid representation from your commission on that committee. So that is probably the strongest relationship. But additionally, there is the opportunity for the commission to provide input specifically on a project design to the staff, and then that will get carried forward to the new design review committee. And I'm going to talk a little bit about the overall design review process as well. So some things I want to ask you to keep in mind is related to the design review appointment, or excuse me, the design review committee appointment process. You all should have received an email about a week or so ago inviting you to apply for a seat on this new design review committee. The clerk's office is currently accepting those applications through March 19th, so there's still time. So if you have any interest in serving on this committee, I would really like to encourage you to get that application in. Those applications will be shared and reviewed by the Committee on Boards and Commissions. This is one of council's subcommittees. So 3 of the 7 council members serve on this committee. They'll review those applications and make their recommendations to council, who will then in turn make their appointments on April 27th. The appointed members will serve concurrent with their commission terms. If you look at the UDO terms, it says 2 3-year terms. And so we wanted the committee member seats to be consistent with the commission seats in terms of terms and the amount of time you serve. But the intent is that when your commission term ends, your committee term will similarly end. And that allows us to kind of have rolling or staggered appointments. So we don't like lose everybody at one time. So the former design review process, I probably don't need to spend much time on this. I know you all are probably very familiar with it. It starts with the staff technical review, and then that is shared with the design review subcommittee. That subcommittee in turn makes recommendations to the respective commission, and then staff and the applicant present before the commission, and the commission then votes on the project. And it can end there if it's a smaller project, but if it's one of these larger projects or conditional zoning or something along those lines, then it moves on through the process, and those recommendations are shared with the Planning and Zoning Commission and City Council. So the revised design review process starts the same with the staff review and a staff presentation, but it goes to first the Downtown or Riverfront Commission for feedback on the project and the design. That feedback is then shared via staff to the design review committee. And then the design review committee makes the vote. And again, if that's a project that moves along in the process, that gets shared further. So how this fits in the overall development review process, it's kind of the middle piece of this linear flow chart. You start with that staff technical review. It goes before the respective commission. And I want to point out on this particular slide, we kind of demonstrate that there's different kinds of feedback. So you have your design related feedback will be shared with the design review committee, and then their recommendation moves on if it's one of those higher level projects. But we know that the purview of this commission and the Downtown Commission both is quite large. It's not just about design review. So if you have other thoughts or other feedback or recommendations related to economic development, community harmony, business vitality, whatever it may be, then that similarly can be shared as it moves through these process, particularly if it's those kind of higher level review projects. And that pretty much concludes my introduction. Like I said, it was a very brief kind of overview of this process. I don't know, Steph, did you want to talk a little bit about other upcoming projects? Is this the point where you wanted to do that, or do you want to just sort of open it up for general questions and discussion?
Yeah, I thought Sasha and I talked earlier. I'm not sure if she's on still, just to note that for the River District Design Review Committee, they looked at 57 Robert Street last week, I believe. And so that is a project that has not yet submitted, but it would be coming through this new committee. Additionally, Truckers Place, which is a project we've been talking about for months, is a project that would come through this new committee. The project that we were talking about earlier that is on the Riverlink property on Riverside Drive would also be coming through this committee. And if Sasha's on and she knows of any other projects, she can put that out there. But so there are several projects coming up soon. And I believe you said you would be meeting first orientation in May. Is that right, Shannon?
Yes, early
Okay.
May, I think is what we're shooting for.
Okay.
And Shannon, I've got a process question from a newbie here. When I look at when I think back to your flow chart of all those different boards, what's the kind of minimum level size project or development that would go through that entire process?
That is a very good question. So let me go back to that screen real quick. I probably should have just kept it up. Sorry about that. Can you see that flow chart?
I can.
Okay, so the city of Asheville classifies our projects based on size. We have different size thresholds and we call them level 1s, 2s, and 3s. So a level 1 or 2 is a ministerial review. So that just receives technical review, does not typically go to the Planning and Zoning Commission or the City Council. There is one exception to that for level 2s, and those are downtown level 2 projects. But it is still a ministerial review and it ends at the Planning and Zoning Commission. So I think probably what you're imagining are the larger projects or the conditional zonings. So a level 3 project is over 100,000 square feet or over 50 residential units. And then conditional zonings are any kind of project. So it could be a small project, but if it requires a zoning change, and there's something about that zoning change that causes us to want to mitigate, its potential impacts or condition it so that it, can really only be for this one thing and not open the door for other more intense uses. So for the most part, it's going to be those bigger projects that receive that input, that might go all the way through to City Council and some special conditional zonings. But our level 2 projects and our level 1 projects can still receive development review. They'll still go through the development review process. It's just going to end at the design review committee before it kind of goes back into the system for construction permitting. Does that answer your question?
Gotcha. It does. Thank you.
Are there any other questions?
Yeah, I've got a question. It goes back. I have a clarification question for Shannon, and then I have a follow-up question. On the design committee, when you say that 4 of these 9 would come from the Riverfront Commission, are you saying that 4 would have to be present members of the Riverfront Commission, or that they would be selected or appointed by the Riverfront Commission?
Come from the commission.
All right. And my understanding is that you're also looking for people on the design review with preference to those that have expertise in design and history with that. So, I mean, the way I conclude that is you're asking for us to more than double the responsibilities of a limited number of people on the Riverfront Commission and a limited number of people on the Downtown Commission that have the appropriate expertise. So I got, the questions arise. One, have you asked any of those people with the kind of expertise that you're looking for and you need? Have you asked any of those people whether they'd be willing to serve? And secondly, if they cannot, whether or not they have the time or just the energy to do it, what is your solution for bringing people to this design review committee with the appropriate expertise, given the time commitment you're now asking them to make?
Well, I'll take a stab at this, answering this, but I'd invite our other staff to weigh in further. Of course, this is all volunteer based, so this is only people who want to do it are invited to apply. I just know from some conversations with folks over the years, and this is not necessarily representative of this group, but over the years, the folks who participate in design review are primarily interested in design review. So this new process is intended to give some focus and integrity to that review process. So we're not anticipating that we'll have difficulty necessarily filling those seats, but if we do, it's going to be based, votes, the business will be conducted with the members that we have. And if we have empty seats, we have empty seats. We wanted to provide the opportunity to have 9 because in my experience, a greater number of people when it comes to design review is helpful. So we think that that's a good number to have. But if we can only fill 7 seats, we can still conduct business and we'll just kind of move along. And if we need to reconsider, our intent is to re-examine this whole process, and I can't remember where this last left off, if it was 6 months or 9 months or a year from now, but the idea is to revisit all of this. And if we need to reconsider, we certainly will. Would anyone like to add anything?
I have a question. Will the commissions from downtown and the Riverfront, will we take a vote on these projects, or we'll just provide feedback?
I believe the intent is just for you to provide feedback, and we just sort of generally share that feedback.
Okay.
Shannon, I just wanted to clarify.
Excuse me.
Okay, sorry.
Stacy might have been trying to cover this, but
Yeah, go ahead,
okay,
Todd.
thanks. Yeah, the only addition to what Shannon said is that the Riverfront and Downtown Commissions, if there are any particular elements of a project that you feel strongly about, that you would like to convey that information directly to council, if a project goes to council, like through our conditional zoning process, then you still have the ability to have a separate motion. I can't recall if the Riverfront Commission has done this for any projects. I know the Downtown Commission has. For example, on the Flatiron project, there was one vote specific to the design of the project, and there was a separate motion for some other kind of socioeconomic factors and input that the Downtown Commission wanted to make sure that they convey that information to council, so that option is still available. If a project goes to city council, that the commission could still have a separate motion to send directly to council, if that makes sense.
Thank you. Jane?
Todd, we had on the River Commission, we had the ability to select 2 additional members to fill out the expertise that we felt we needed. In our case, it was often landscape related design knowledge and experience, because we were looking at issues of stormwater management and providing good designs that would then help the riverfront environmentally. We don't have that capacity to allow those people to apply for this commission, is my understanding. So where does that leave us on a design review process if we don't have that expertise, which we had previously?
Oh, you can certainly have, a landscape architect is a design professional.
I know, but if they're not on the commission right now, they're on the design, they're on the planning and design review committee. We had 2 slots that we voted in additional membership to that committee that were non-commission members, but brought expertise that we felt we needed in the design review process.
Okay, I gotcha.
Yeah,
So,
and now they're left hanging. They're like kicked out.
So one thing is, I didn't go over this in great detail, but the council will appoint 8 of the 9 members. There is one at-large member that will be appointed by the seated members of the committee. So if there is felt that there is a need, there is this gap, then I think you as a committee could say, we really want to prioritize filling this seat with somebody who has this background and expertise.
Okay, that's helpful to know. But those people weren't informed as to whether they could apply or not, had questions about applying.
That will come. We have to form the committee first. So once that committee is formed, then we will advertise for applications. We were just thinking recently that maybe we could get that process started sooner rather than wait, just so we have a pool of applicants that they could choose from once they get seated. So we didn't make a final decision about that amongst staff and whether it was appropriate for us as staff to initiate that process, or we should really wait for those seated members. But that might be one possibility.
And if I could just address that a little bit more, I did communicate with our 2 members from the Riverfront committee that they could apply. We also do have 2 landscape architects on the downtown commission too. So we could end up with 3, which would be great, to have even more than just 1. So
sure.
I think Kate, the one who's on the river, is probably planning on applying.
Okay, great. That's great to know. Thank you, Sasha.
Sage, then Buck.
I just want to echo that I fought for this because I thought it was something y'all thought would be a better solution than no involvement. If I have made a mistake here and y'all are really hating this process, please let me know. Just saying that because I'm sensing this is not something that many of you like, and I did genuinely think that you all wanted this as a better solution than no relationship to the design board. So I'm going to own that I really fought for this over the other option of no relationship. So, I'm trying to do what's best for y'all and best for the review process. Please do reach out if that is not something that you wanted.
Debbie?
Shannon, I was just wondering, what is the quorum for the design committee? You said if you only had 7, it would be okay. I was just kind of curious, what is your quorum?
So a quorum is established by having a majority of the seated members.
Okay.
So we have 9 seats available, but if we start with just 6 or 7 or whatever, it's just a majority of those seats that are filled.
Okay, thank you.
Sage, you have your hand up still. Did you have something else to add? Oh, okay. Sasha, did you have something to add?
No, sorry. I lowered my hand now.
Okay. Okay. Well, if there's no other questions or comments, we can move on.
Thank you all very
Shannon,
much.
thank you.
Appreciate it.
I'm sure we'll continue this discussion. Thanks so much.
Sounds good.
So we're moving on. I have been attending. Tim and I have attended 2 task force meetings for the open task force that was put together. Oh, excuse me. Okay. The task force, I'll give you a quick overview of the task force. It's the open space, and I'll just give you a couple bullet points. The minutes are available, but the first point is that Fidelia Satvika led with that the intent of this task force is that the city should be representing the community based on community input via previous planning processes such as the comprehensive plan. So that's the intent of this task force. Why review the code? Well, current standards have become a barrier to infill development. Seems to be the biggest reason why this code is being reviewed now. The city's goals regarding infill include addressing the demand and locating units in areas where the existing infrastructure can support them and where they're in good proximity to multimodal transportation options, employment, goods, and other services. The city of Asheville is trying to meet strategies of the comprehensive plan to balance growth and needs for housing based on the Bowen report and to address the need for the environmental protection. The task force has suggested that staff might want to have different requirements in strategic areas where the vision is for higher density development. And some questions that the task force left with yesterday was, do the open space requirements undermine project viability in more dense areas of development? Another question was, should the city of Asheville call open space something different and less ambiguous, suggesting using the term private open space, on-site versus shared? So there's a lot of debate going on open space, and I don't know, Tim, do you have anything that you would like to add to that?
No, I think you got it, Darren. I feel like we're just getting started, but I think you've spelled out the purpose.
Okay. Commissioners, do you have any questions or comments, or staff, do you have any input? Jane?
I apologize. I didn't get to watch the whole video that was sent to us by Stephanie. I apologize. But I was wondering if there was discussion about whether we might be creating first and second class neighborhoods by changing standards of open space. I mean, Asheville is seen as a green, vegetated, very desirable location. And if you're creating neighborhoods that are high density, that are almost barren of open space, how does that compare with neighborhoods that are older and have, you know, a lot of vegetation and trees and open space? And when I started reading it, I started thinking, are we creating two different categories, you know, the green neighborhoods and the not green neighborhoods? You know, and I understand the need for housing, but it's just, what are you sacrificing, you know, in the goal? And then the other thing is reading the ordinance, and I was wondering how it applied to the river. I mean, it seemed like we were dropped out of some things, you know, took out, I'd have to find it again, but it mentioned that we were, that the river district was exempt from open space guidelines or something like that. Maybe staff can answer that.
I think those are all really good questions. I don't use of the greenway, for instance, precludes the requirement of open space. I don't believe that's been decided. But I do, what I've gathered, and I am not a design professional, I do gather that there are a lot of unintended consequences that can often arise out of certain codes, especially when it relates to open space. And if you're trying to create density in areas because you know you have a deficit of housing, do you also then create really expensive housing by not being able to create the density that you're needing? So it's certainly an interesting debate. And we were reviewing Raleigh and Charlotte, who are quite different from Asheville, but also are dealing with similar questions. Any other questions or comments?
Darren, I had a question and a comment. I didn't go back and look at the video, but I read through the PowerPoint you guys provided, and it's really, really exciting. I wanted to ask what the, and I'm sorry if I missed it in the documents, but what's the end goal of this task force in terms of the product that you'll provide the communities? Is it design, or rather code related changes or recommendations, or what's kind of your end point there?
We are supposed to be reviewing the proposed code in our next meeting.
Okay.
I am certainly the least qualified member of this task force. You have some extremely well-versed and experienced engineers and architects on this, and attorneys. However, I do believe that the ultimate goal is to provide a code that is and what I'd likely think what is going to happen is that there's going to be certain areas of this city where open space is going to differ. That's my hunch here, is that there's not a one size fits all as it applies to open space. So I think the goal is to find a happy medium where everybody feels, heard, and to Jane's point, there is a need to have a tree canopy and green space throughout the city, even in downtown areas where there wants to be a higher density based on the topography and the way the city is laid out.
Great.
Todd, I'd love for you to chime in. Thank you.
Thanks. No, Darren did a great job, and Tim explaining the kind of the purpose. I would just add, part of the rationale for the creation of the task force was that we were getting differing priorities from different boards and commissions and from different stakeholders, and we felt like we had some differing goals from the community that were butting against each other. And by creating the task force, so we could take a step back and look at revising our open space standards through our zoning regulations in a more holistic way. So we have representatives from the Riverfront Commission, Downtown Commission, the Housing Authority, a development group we call DCAG. I can't recall what that stands for right at this minute, but there kind of include our design professionals that work with our development services department from the community. So we have all these different groups, the Urban Forestry Commission, SACE, our Sustainability Advisory Committee, all these different groups that have different goals, and how does this apply to open space, which we're finding our current regulations with open space are very confusing because we have all these overlapping open space requirements. We have open space through setbacks, through open space, a separate set of open space requirements, parking lot landscaping, something we call building impact, like landscaping. So how do all these different requirements overlap with each other? And I think this new approach will help us maybe redefine what our goals are. Initially our goal was primarily to remove barriers, regulatory barriers to infill housing. But what we found by working with other commissions such as SACE and the Urban Forestry Commission is that maybe we left out some other really important goals related to the environment and to our habitat in Asheville. So hopefully this new approach will again allow us to look at things more comprehensively and come out with ultimately a better product, a better zoning regulations than what we have today.
That's really great. I think that's prudent. It's not my role to tell or even suggest to the city what to do or what direction to go in. But as someone that just ran a campaign for office, one of the top 3 things I heard on the campaign trail in 2020 from citizens in Asheville and other places was about tree removal and canopy removal. And so that was really interesting to me as I think about that a lot. I also think that, as a planner and someone looking at the growth in Buncombe County as a whole, I know that it's really important that the city work to, increase density and increase the quantity of housing units to put, to help equity and affordability, and also while also balancing green spaces and open space. So I think it's a really prudent time for you guys to have that conversation. That's really exciting. And I just offer my support in any way I can to help you get there.
Thank you. Appreciate the feedback.
Thank you. Jane?
I don't have any more comments. I apologize. I didn't lower my hand. So.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Well, if there's no other comments or questions, we'll move on to next on the agenda is a county staff update, but I don't see Peyton. Is Peyton here? Is he on the call?
I don't think so.
Okay. We'll move on. Christy is not here either, and that's the networking committee chair, so she's not here right now. We're moving on to Councilwoman Turner. Do you have a city council update?
Do I have a city council update? No, and I'm learning that you asked me this last time, so you want a standing update on things, and I am not aware of what you want me to report yet. You know, we've been dealing with things like the school board and legislative recommendations, none of which will impact the river. One of which was to change and continue to recommend that the state legislators amend our occupancy tax legislation to encourage the move to a higher percentage going into public capital projects, which could impact this group. I don't, and I apologize because what I'll do is actually prepare an update for you, which I have not done to date, but I now know that I'm a regular item as an update, so I will.
We forgive you.
Well, the hotel work was a big part of what she did, right, Sage?
Yeah, I mean, we're definitely busy, but as it relates to this commission, I'm not sure.
Commissioner Sloan, do you have an update you'd like to share with us?
I'm going to give a similar response to Sage. I did remember today that you would ask me this. I want to put in the chat my cell phone number and my email address so everyone has it, because the phone number at least is new. It's about a month old now, and I don't know that people have that. So I'll leave that for you. And just, you know, whether verbally now or through that medium, tell me what you guys would like to hear, you know, from the county's perspective. I see my role as trying to figure out what my role is on this commission, to be frank, but beyond that, just, you know, to listen and to offer the county support the best I can, and to and to push for the, you know, the best and highest use of the land in the River Arts area, because it's just such an awesome, there's so much opportunity there. It's such an awesome place and important piece of our community. We don't necessarily get a second chance to develop it. So it's something I really care about. You know, the big topics on the county commission's agenda relates to the budget discussion that's coming up already in June or July, which isn't that close, but we're talking about it every day so far. So if you see things in the newspaper or on the internet that interest you, let me know. Provide that feedback to me, please. The sooner the better. The vaccine situation, like I talked about last time, is improving every week. The quantities are improving, and the places at which you can get vaccinated are changing every week. So it's kind of hard to keep up. I'm going to drop a link to the state vaccine finder in this chat as well, because I think it's important that people use that as new places go online. You're casting as wide of a net as possible to find a vaccine. So that the county, for example, is starting a pilot program with 3 local pharmacies in the next couple of weeks here in Black Mountain and Weaverville and one other location. I don't recall. And so it's just hard to keep up with all the places you can get them. So I'll leave that search tool for you in there. What else is on our agenda?
You had mentioned a task force that you were working on. Is there any update to that? You were working on a task force?
Yeah, on the water quality thing, I'm still working on that. That's still in the works. You know, trying to put together, working behind the scenes, and I'd love your feedback on this. You know, I think I gave you my high level vision last time of a task force that would review water quality and quantity issues related to the floodplain and sedimentation, and E. coli in the river and all the different sources of that. I think I might be trying to ask county staff to take on too much there, and we might need to divide it into a couple different work groups, because that requires different segments of expertise. So I'll hopefully have an update for you guys in April or May on that. I think to update you on the other thing I mentioned last time, with the county comprehensive plan, that's still moving along. We released the RFP for the consultant. And the first task for us, probably one of the most important things we do this year, will be appointing a 10 to 14 member task force to oversee that huge project. And so we'll be looking for citizens from all over the county to join that committee, but also subject matter experts that have expertise in landscape architecture and planning and green bays and transportation. So experts and advocates in those areas. So we really want people to be passionate about all the different aspects of development and planning. So if you have ideas there, again, don't hesitate to reach out to me. So
Thank you.
happy to
Jane, you have your
answer
hand up?
questions, but tell me what you guys want me to update you on. Otherwise I can talk to you about what I'm working on.
Thank you. Jane, you had your hand up or no? It's okay. All right. It is 5:05, and someone like to make a motion to adjourn this meeting? Charlotte, I'm looking at you. Jane?
I'll make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I'll second it.
Thank you.
All right.
And,
Thank you all. In record time, 5:05.
and thank you for the conversation. It was important. So.
Yeah. And thank you all.
Thanks, everyone.